Here to comment on how businesses from Malaysia and Singapore can benefit from the JS-SEZ partnership is Thilan Wickramasinghe from Maybank Securities Singapore.
Singapore is one of the major financial intermediary centers in the world, and that enables a lot of businesses to capture capital out of Singapore. So I think that's one of the main areas that Johor businesses will benefit from. But apart from that is also getting access to the high value added value chain of Singapore's tech supply chain. As you know, Singapore has a very high-end tech value chain as well as high-end manufacturing and so on. So a lot of Johor businesses will be able to benefit from supporting that supply chain as well. And I guess a third area where the Johor-Singapore Special Economic Zone is really focusing on is renewable energy. So I think in that context, again, the partnerships between Johor businesses and Singapore businesses in supporting sustainable energy and green energy will also be an area where there will be a lot of benefits and collaboration.
As for Singapore, Thilan emphasizes how the JS-SEZ can help in lowering operating costs for many businesses.
Two major bottlenecks that Singapore businesses have had, and this runs across small and medium enterprises to large enterprises and even the MNCs, have been the very high operating costs in Singapore, particularly in terms of rentals as well as people, or actually the access to people. So I think opening up the Johor-Singapore SEZ and certainly, unclogging the border between Singapore and Johor should go quite a long way in enabling, lowering operating costs for a lot of businesses here. And I think this has been one of the major sort of issues in terms of margins for a lot of businesses in Singapore. But apart from that, it also provides a wider hinterland for Singapore businesses. So, I mean, if you look at Hong Kong, they have Shenzhen as a hinterland in a way, and I think Singapore has always lacked that. And I think having, easier border, much more clear policies between the two countries will enable a lot of Singaporean businesses to take advantage of a wider hinterland, not just in Johor, but across Malaysia as well.
Thilan also calls on both governments to provide clearer policies and prioritize inclusivity and sustainability to ensure the long-term success of the JS-SEZ.
If you look at special economic zones, about 140 countries in the world have special economic zones. And our research shows that about 90% of them don't actually end up meeting the original objectives that they kind of set up. Now, from the policy side of view, you're starting to see very early signs that the governments have announced some policies being put in place, particularly in terms of tax incentives, in terms of funding for businesses to move to Johor, infrastructure, as well as things like visas and so on. So I think the policy side is still very early and will need a lot more clarity. And I think that's an area that we need to keep a very close eye on. And I think the third is inclusivity and sustainability. And what I mean by that is for both sides, they really need to figure out what is really needed by businesses to relocate to the special economic zone and what is actually required by the global customer base from an economic zone that is based in Johor and Singapore. And is it really sustainable? This is something that on both ends, there is a business case and there is a need for that from an economic point of view, from a historical point of view, as well as from a people point of view. So I think there is a very strong case for the Johor-Singapore SEZ to come in, and I think it's coming at the right time and it's in the right place to really benefit both economies. And I think the reality is, the sum of this will be bigger than the parts.